At the White House, tech titans meet with the president to talk about risk and reward over artificial intelligence. Now, reports from the New York Times and CNN say top executives from Meta, Anthropic, Google, and OpenAI, they'll be there to discuss new AI regulatory frameworks with White House officials. So let's go live to Ian Krietzberg, a reporter for Puck News. Ian, world powers are really in a race to dominate the AI space. Of course, we know China would like to get the gold trophy, so would the United States. So how do U.S. officials win that race, but then provide the guardrails that really will be top priorities in this meeting?
Well, that is the key question at hand, right? How do you do both? I think the challenge that the industry has been dealing with and that a lot of regulators have been very concerned with for a while is that the current approach from a regulatory or licensure standpoint that we've been dealing with since Trump's early June executive order is kind of random. It's ad hoc. Right, we've seen a lot of these major frontier models taken offline. There's been a lot of confusion and very little transparency around what does it take to get something released, what are you allowed to deploy, what are you not allowed to do. And that environment of uncertainty is not something that's ideal for the industry. They want to know what's going on. And from a kind of customer acquisition standpoint, when you have other models that don't have those same concerns, I think a lot of folks are specifically concerned about Chinese models, open weights models, right? There's an opportunity there to move away from the American frontier and into areas that have greater certainty, because what we have right now is very uncertain. And so the idea behind this meeting is that we will hopefully see a framework that clarifies some of these questions around frontier model deployment. What does this kind of pre-release model review actually look like? How does it function? And how does that impact how these companies are allowed to deploy their technology? So at the moment, we don't know what that looks like, right? The companies that are at the White House speaking about this right now, they haven't seen this before. And it's not yet clear if this framework will be publicly released. And so that unsurprisingly, there's still a lot of uncertainty around this effort to kind of inject a little bit of certainty into this environment. And the idea is the certainty helps, ride that balance between guardrails and cybersecurity protections and also kind of global competition.
Right, and the brass ring, of course, is to be the dominant player in the AI race, and we think of China, who would like the very same brass ring. Is there a sense in Washington or even in Silicon Valley that regulations equal stalling or slowing down that race?
Well, that's something we've been hearing about for a couple of years now, right? You have this common refrain, specifically from the Valley, that regulation could hinder innovation. I think that's the exact phrasing that you probably hear ad nauseum. I think a reality is emerging that, especially in certain cases, right? Everyone has, since Anthropic released Mythos back in April, and especially in the recent hacking incidents with OpenAI, everyone seems very aware in both the Valley and in DC that there are cybersecurity risks that need to be addressed here. And the way you address that is through regulation. There's also an awareness that by trying to address those problems through executive order is not necessarily the way to actually accomplish it. And so where does that leave you? A lot of folks would like to see legislative, transparent frameworks that are grounded in technical science, which would lead you to actual regulation. And in this instance, I think there's a growing sense that regulation around this kind of framework, done legislatively rather than by executive order, would actually help innovation and boost deployment and increase transparency, which is good for the bottom lines. And is very needed at this point, considering the cybersecurity risks that everyone seems so concerned about. And so we might be approaching a point where regulation is kind of emerging as a better way forward than the idea that it's hindering innovation, and so we must prevent it at all costs.
Well, we've talked about the people in the room, the president and all of the top bosses from Silicon Valley and the AI sort of team or AI crowd. One group we've left out talking about are the public, the citizenry, who are calling for more regulation. So it's good to have that conversation. Ian, always great to have you. We hope to have you back here on CBS News 24/7. You be well.
Thank you.